Hello, I'm Dr. Joanna Bucknell and you are listening to episode 14 of Talking About Immersive Theatre, or TAIT, which is TAIT for short. This podcast series brings you discussions with immersive theatre makers, producers and performers. I get out and about all over the place to chat with people involved in immersive performance in their own spaces and places. Now, before I let you actually get at episode 14, I wanted to sort of bring up the elephant in the room, really. So we are at the beginning of June now, and May has just disappeared ever so swiftly. Now, I did promise that over May, because of the Brighton Fringe Festival, I will be putting out lots of additional content. Now, the reality that has happened is I have been ridiculously busy. So I've been performing in the Brighton Fringe Festival with my own company, Vertical Exchange Performance Collective. I have seen a gazillion shows and recorded interviews with most of the people who've produced that immersive work. So I have barely been in the house for more than a couple of hours before having to head back to Brighton, because I'm not based in Brighton. So I just haven't even had a moment to review, organise or edit any of the material that I've recorded, and there is a considerable amount of it. I still have a few shows to see this weekend on Saturday and Sunday, and I've got a few more interviews booked in as well. So I'm still kind of building up this huge body of material. So what I'm going to do over the next few weeks is review and organise everything that I've collected and recorded and figure out the very best way to start to broadcast it. Some of it will go live as main TAIT episodes, I think, over the summer and on into September. And then as and when appropriate, things will become available as either minisodes or as extrasodes. The problem is my intention was that some of the interviews would probably have been much briefer because of people's busyness during the festival. However, it would seem that I am completely incapable of having a brief discussion with anybody about anything to do with immersion. So everything I've recorded is pretty much well over an hour and not really appropriate to go out as a minisode. So I suspect they're going to end up being extrasodes. So let's kick off that Brighton Fringe Festival collection that's going to be coming out to you over the next couple of months. I do hope you enjoy. So, hello everybody. I'm here at the Jury Inn in Brighton on the seafront with Becky, Katie and Dave.
Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
From Interactive Theatre International. So hello and welcome. It's lovely to be chatting with you. So first things first, can you tell me about Interactive Theatre International? Who are you and what is it that you do?
Well, ITI started it's an Australian company that started in 1997.
Wow, okay, yeah.
That's when the very first 40 Towers dining experience started, over in Brisbane, Australia. And since then, I think that show grew and grew and grew, got more and more popular, and has turned into this globe-trotting.
Yeah, because I've met everyone I meet, because obviously I'm moving kind of immersively circle, so pretty much everyone I meet has been to it in one guise or another, somewhere or another, in loads of different places as well. So
yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, well, the three of us only joined the company within the last 2 years.
Great.
So there's a whole load of history that precedes us.
Yeah. So do you want to talk a little bit about yourselves then, and maybe if I start here and move around that way, and just sort of a little bit about your background, where you came from and how you came to be working with RTI, basically.
So my name's Katie. And I'm a performer, and I've been performing all my life in mostly theatre.
Yeah.
And I very much love the live element of theatre. I think that's probably why I've done it most of all.
I was going to ask you if you're musically theatre trained, actually.
I went to a school that had a musical theatre strand, but actually I wasn't interested in musical theatre. I was interested in being an actor who could sing, and if I had to, dance. If I was forced to, I would dance. No, I love it, but it wasn't. I was interested in being an actor who would sing or a singer who would act.
Yeah.
In terms of my CV, that's how I would promote myself and try and get work.
Yeah. It's just because also you sing in one of the shows.
Yes, that's right.
It was good, so I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. And so I went to drama school in London, and I went down the avenue of auditioning lots and lots and lots, and found it to be quite a painful experience, and not a very beneficial one actually. It's it's just sort of, you put a lot out there and you get very little back. And so I found a different avenue, and I still audition for other companies and for roles and for jobs, but I wanted to seek my own path and be a bit more creative with it, and so I started to apply for funding and write and devise my own theatre with fellow actors who I love working with, and one-woman shows as well. And actually I found that to be a much more fruitful platform, because you are putting yourself on a stage in front of an audience and performing, and that's what's important, not auditioning and getting no's all the time.
You're not relying on other people then to just be jobbing, and I think jobbing acting is probably one of the hardest
it's horrible. There's no joy there at all. No. And then you get a job and there's loads of joy, but that's 1 in every 10.
Exactly. And then when it's done, it's a contract. It lasts however long it lasts, and then it's over, isn't it? So,
exactly. And actually, often the work that I'm auditioning for, I don't believe in. I don't actually. I sort of don't really think it's nothing. It's something I don't necessarily want to do.
Well, you're not invested in it in the same way, because it's not yours. You're kind of coming in.
But even so, sometimes I just don't like. I don't think the writing's very good, or the character isn't very inspiring. Like, it's kind of a housewife or a.
Well, that's a big thing for women.
It is
in the theatre in general, isn't it? Actually,
exactly.
It's a problem.
It really is. It's a fundamentally, there's a big flaw there, and so why not write your own role? That why not create your own opportunities and something that you enjoy, and slowly but surely, what ended up happening was it ended up being mostly in comedy, and also in breaking the fourth wall and engaging with the audience. And actually I find that the most thrilling. I find it really weird being on stage and ignoring the audience. I can't handle it.
Everybody I spoke to has said this, because also I mostly speak to people involved in kind of interactive performance. But there is something really bizarre about pretending that
they're not there.
People aren't there.
It's weird.
Disconcerting.
It is. It really is. And actually, when you suddenly look at them and go, and engage with them. And then they're like, oh, so they're looking at me, and they're like, yeah, I'm looking at you.
You are here.
You are exactly. Here. What do you think about that? Let's have some fun. And that is what I love the most about it.
I really like it when people pipe up because they think that you're not going to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And then you actually do. They piped up, and then you look over at them, and they go, oh dear. That's actually quite a lovely moment.
It is.
They realise that.
I'm the same. I think that ignoring the people in the room with you is rude. Weird.
Yeah, it really is. But then I'll go and see a piece of theatre and I'll be totally ignored. There'll be a fourth wall and the actors will just act, and I will watch them and I will thoroughly enjoy myself.
Absolutely,
there's something to be said for enjoying art and enjoying people.
Of course.
And I also love. I've ended up going into quite absurd comedy as well with my adult theatre company, Wild Heart. And we've just had a show. We've just done a show with Mick Barnfather, who's worked with Complicité for years. And we're just about to make a show with Spy Monkey's Aitor from Spy Monkey. And it's quite absurd, weird comedy, and I love that. But also I love doing straight theatre, straight acting, where there is no weird characters, there's no grotesqueness, there's just subtlety and nuances, and it's a script, and you need to craft a scene, and that's really exciting as well. So how I got into this show, Oliver Harrison, who was in Fawlty Towers, him and I are in Wild Heart together, and he did Manuel, and these two actually came and saw Wolfmeat. You came and saw Wolfmeat, didn't you?
We did.
And Ollie said they're auditioning for wedding reception. Come and audition, and I did, and I got the job. And here I am today, and I get to perform with these lovely people all the time, which is lush.
So we are missing one of the cast.
We are missing one of the cast. Ollie's.
We'll just pretend
elsewhere. Hello, I'm Ollie.
His massive moustache is here, but
well, he must feel really at home in Brighton with his massive moustache.
Oh, yeah, totally.
My partner has a massive beard, so he gets comments.
Well, he's the only one of us that lives here as well now.
Oh, does he live here?
Yeah,
so
he's actually
okay.
Brilliant. We used to live here for a long time, so it's only recently that we've moved away. So in the past year, so
must be
moved
nice
to London.
To come back then.
It's lovely to be back. It still feels like home, so it's absolutely wonderful to be able to come back. To
I'm from Brighton. I'm an actual, real life Brightonian.
Wow, born here and everything.
Born
They're
and
rare,
bred.
aren't they?
They are
Very
really
rare.
rare. Wow.
And I now live in East London,
Yeah.
but I can't grow a beard because my useless facial hair. Hence the stick-on moustache when I play Basil.
Well, it depends as well, because my partner couldn't till he hit about 30, and then suddenly he was able to. So now it's like, I'm going to.
Maybe there's hope for me at some point. I don't know. We'll see.
So how did you come to be working
Well, myself and Becky, we were living in Brighton, and we got involved with a local company that was doing a show in Edinburgh, and that was based short plays, a series of 10-minute short plays.
Okay.
And Alison, who's the director of ITI, she came to see that show when we were there, and she really loved it, and she saw something in it, and she came up with the idea of maybe we could do some sort of interactive version of what we were doing, taking the comedy plays and somehow doing it in a restaurant. Quite awkward because the plays were written for fourth wall, you know.
Yeah.
They weren't designed to be interacting with people.
And there is a whole different dramaturgy, isn't there, that has to come
totally
into play once you break that fourth wall.
And it was hard not to crowbar ideas in. Suddenly you're talking to someone, the next minute you're doing a bit of script. And, but one of the plays was based around a wedding in a hotel room after the wedding had happened, and we hit upon the idea of doing the glue between the plays and pretend that actually where we were was a wedding reception.
Yeah. So almost a bit like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead, kind of the stuff that's going on around and at the side.
Yeah. And so we had these original ideas to translate these characters and actually welcoming people in and sitting them down at tables and pretending they were here at a function. Mm-hmm. And that part of that show really worked. We thought, there's something in that.
Yeah.
And about a year later, Alison got back in touch and said, I'd really like to do a new show in addition to Faulty, and that wedding thing kind of worked, so would you be interested in writing a new show? Yeah. So that's what we did. We started working together, and we drafted the sort of foundation for the characters and what might happen very roughly. Yeah. We spent a few months on that, and then we auditioned, and then we auditioned down here in Brighton actually, and we found two actors, Danielle Bryce and Ben Hood, and the four of us wrote the script over about 8-week period, holed up in a little bookshop in London.
Oh, perfect.
And that's what we did, and then we kind of went into scratch performances and really rough version of it.
Yes.
We didn't have the meal; it was just like sandwiches and crisps on the tables, and like to about 4 people, and it was really awkward and like, oh god.
Well, this is one of the other things that I was going to talk to you about a little bit later on, and I probably will come back to you. But the dramaturgies that are involved with engaging people require people during the process, which is a massive challenge, I think.
So hard.
Because normally the actors and everyone and director and all you guys just get in a room, you make the work and then you take it out. But with this you need to try stuff out.
It's a terrifying part of the process because you've done all you can in a rehearsal space, doing it to tables and chairs.
Exactly.
and then you just have to have an audience there, and you just
go for it.
You just don't know what's going to work and what bits are gonna really fly and what bits are gonna be dead in the water. Yeah. And it's
obviously
only after
a bit of experience, doesn't it, as well? After you've done this a few times, you start to get a sense of what might work. But again, you're right, until those people are in that room, and you can never predict how people are going to behave.
But also I feel like in that process you end up feeling quite, well I did, you feel quite stupid in a way, because the things that the feedback that the people who in the scratch performances, the audience say, as soon as I've said it, you go,
oh yeah,
of course. it's that moment that you go, oh, I feel stupid. Of course you needed to do that. It's something that's so blindingly obvious sometimes, but you've been so deep in it that you just don't see it.
But it's because there's a whole character missing effectively from the process,
exactly.
isn't there, which is the audience.
Exactly it.
So the character is missing.
Yeah. It's missing a limb.
Yeah, so you're having to kind of operate around this absence, I think, all the time, which I think is really challenging, and I don't have the answer for that yet. It's just trialling and begging people to come and try stuff out, and like you said, taking things to scratch and getting feedback and seeing that. But again, of course, at scratches you can never quite do it in that completely interactive way either, so you're sort of presenting something that wouldn't necessarily be presented in that way, so I find that...
So, because you're always reliant on the audience, really. Just because by design you're talking to them, so if you don't have an audience, you can't, you still have a show, but it's a very different show to how you've got a big room full of people all being really raucous and joining in.
And I know all comedians say this, and this goes without saying really, but they really feed the performance. As soon as we start and then we open our mouths, the reaction we get, it either makes us go, oh no, this is going to be a challenging one, or
this is going to be fun.
We've got a corker.
Yeah.
You get the goosebumps, and they're on it. They're on board, and they want to get involved, and
Which
that's
is
brilliant.
great.
And then it gives you the.
But the worst thing, I suppose, is them not being there, is not having enough audience. Like if it's small or if it's quiet. Like,
Yeah, we've
really
done shows, big shows to like 130, where it feels like a massive party. It really feels like a wedding, a celebration.
Yeah.
Then we've done shows in Edinburgh to like 5, and it feels more like a funeral. And it's like, oh, I'm gonna die. I can't do it.
But then you have shows like this weekend. We had a show. Did it to 14 people or
14
something,
people at lunchtime.
but they were
Yeah.
so up for it.
which is
And it
fabulous.
was lovely.
Yeah.
Really, they really came on. It really did have that wedding feel about it. People still, and they were up at the end, and
And it was one of our top, top 15 shows of all of it wasn't. It was not just because it had a small audience. It was brilliant.
Yeah,
It was brilliant.
it's about the energy they bring, isn't it?
Exactly.
You can never know what that will be.
Exactly.
What was interesting, we saw them sort of arrive here where we're sitting now.
Yes.
And the table plan was out, and they could see how many people were going to be in the audience.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And we overheard them say, "Oh God, there's not many people. We thought it was going to be this big thing. It's going to have no atmosphere at all." But as soon as we'd started our little intro that we do in the
gets
bar,
going, yeah.
they were smiling and laughing, and our job really is to make them feel comfortable. And
Yeah, of
actually,
course.
it doesn't matter if there's not a massive crowd of people.
Yeah. Well, there was actually a really happy coincidence because when I came yesterday lunchtime, there was a hen party sat
Yes.
over there.
Really?
And
I did see
initially,
that.
I thought,
Did you think they part of it?
maybe is this going to be like a pre-bit? But the more I could hear them talking, because you can't help but overhear what they're saying when you're sat, I thought, no.
Yeah. They're real hens.
And they're real hens.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting, and I could see as the other audience members were arriving, they were thinking exactly the same thing,
Right.
but they weren't close enough to kind of hear.
That's
so
cool.
I thought that's so interesting that happy accident of the
Yeah.
site.
Yeah.
And actually there were lots of hen parties.
Yeah. And there was a wedding over there as well.
And
And there's actual
wedding.
wedding, so there's lots of people dressed up. So it
when I
did.
was at the bar buying drinks, people behind me were like, "Are you here for the wedding reception?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
But then it transpired I was here for the show. They were here for an actual wedding
That's
reception.
excellent.
Exactly.
Can we take them everywhere we go?
That'd be great.
Well, I thought that is wonderful, just one of those moments where sight and coincidence and circumstance just kind of feed into that narrative and the feeling of the show, which I think is always one of the things, isn't it, that always comes with doing it outside of a traditional theatre space.
Yeah.
So, last but not least,
Yes.
would you like to tell us how you came to be involved?
Well, my story is very much the same as Dave's actually,
yeah.
but I went to drama school. I only came into acting very late.
Yeah, which drama school did you go to?
In Brighton, so I went to Academy of Creative Training down here.
perfect, yeah.
So that's where I actually met Dave. He was in the year above, and so I then got involved in a lot of projects down here. I did the Treason show, and then got involved with other local companies, and that's how we ended up going to Edinburgh to do that show, and that's where we met Alison Pollard. So so and then she took the show, and then I've been with her, and then when the show that we did for her and took on tour, it came to an end, and that's when I got in contact and asked her if she would consider me to play Sybil Fawlty. And she was in Edinburgh at the time, and she was going to be coming back down to London sooner than she expected, and so asked if I could in the next day audition. So then quickly prepared and auditioned for her in London, and then from then on I was doing Sybil.
Great.
Yeah, and then it came about at the time we auditioned that she was then interested in creating a new interactive dinner show.
Yeah.
And the idea of it being at a wedding was quite perfect because it made sense of people having a sit-down meal. Because I think a lot of dining shows, they don't. Fawlty makes complete sense being in a dining setting because you're invited to Fawlty Towers, the hotel.
In the hotel.
Precisely, and so you come to a hotel, that makes sense.
And you
then,
know that dining room, and you know those characters, so you know what you're stepping kind of into.
So as soon as Basil, Sybil and Manuel walk in, you're in that world.
Absolutely.
And I think that a lot of dining theatre, what it misses is making sense of you being in a dining room and having a sit-down meal. And I think unless you create those two things together,
there has to be a logic. There has to be a dramatic logic.
You can't make the audience work too hard. Trying to figure out, constantly trying to place themselves.
Yeah.
Too many things going on.
And that's what was the problem when we did a touring show beginning because it didn't make sense of a dining room. And I think a lot of other dinner shows that's what happens. They do a show in a dining room, but it doesn't
make sense. I agree, and I think for the wedding reception and 40, it entirely makes sense. And 40 Towers, I think you instantly have that world is already there. So I was going to ask you, well, I'm going to try and jump back a bit for the people listening may not know about the show. So what is the 40 Towers dining experience? I don't want without too many spoilers, but just sort of in a nutshell.
Very simply, and there's many episodes of 40 Tales, the TV show, that are set in the hotel's restaurant. And, you see Basil mistreating the guests and insulting them. Basically, the show takes the idea that you are guests at 40 Tales, the hotel, but of course it's not actually, it's at different hotels all over the world.
Of course,
But the setting is the same. And so you will turn up at the bar and you'll be greeted by Basil, Sybil and Manuel. And they are the characters, our best representation of the characters that you know and love from the TV show. Using original situations, an original script.
But there's all those signifiers in there as well, I think, all the things that we know and we love
totally,
about those characters, which I think is what makes, in some respects, because that show was much, much busier as well when I came.
Yes.
And I think because you instantly have that, people recognise it and they know it, and it already has that kind of following. Of course, a kind of national treasure as well, isn't it?
It is,
That's pressure as well.
But people want to meet these characters.
Yeah, of course they do.
And so with Fawlty Towers, which we don't necessarily have for the wedding reception, as soon as you walk into a group of people as those characters, you have them already. They love you. They're already laughing.
They know you already. They feel like they know you already.
Exactly. So they're already laughing and they're wanting to hear. So Sybil's laugh. They want to be insulted by Basil, and they want to be Manuel to fall over or something haphazard to happen to Manuel. And if you give them those things, then they're already falling about themselves.
Exactly.
And they're feeling so much pleasure. They're just enjoying themselves so much.
Of course, at the centre of the show, there's a 3-course meal. So you are sat at your tables by Basil and served by the 3 characters. And absolutely nothing goes wrong. Absolutely nothing. It's perfect service all the way. I don't want to give anything away, but that's the general concept. Very simple, but.
And in terms of your process, how do you approach that? Do you just have to really study kind of all the material that exists for those characters to sort of try to find a way to not recreate them but inhabit them?
Absolutely. I mean, with Fawlty Towers, we're quite lucky because there's only 12 episodes.
Yeah, of course.
So you can watch them to death. And I still find myself watching them now, and they still make me laugh out loud. It doesn't matter how many times I've watched each of those episodes. But really careful study of, for me, obviously, Sybil, how she holds herself. Obviously, the laugh, that's the essential part to get.
Yeah, of course.
And just, embodying that person. So actually, because you have to, you haven't got a script. There is, there is a lot of improvisation because you're talking to people one-on-one.
That's what I was going to ask you about as well, is how much of, I'm assuming you have kind of scenarios and a structure of stuff you have to get through in that time.
You have anchors
by certain
to
points,
get to.
Anchors. And then aside from that is a lot of this kind of improvisational response to the audience.
And if you inhabit and become the character, but also own it as yourself, you then have more freedom when you do go off script,
of course,
to explore what that character would do in that environment, and that only comes when you feel comfortable with the character, when you totally inhabit it.
Of course,
And you know when you don't feel confident with it, because you're trying to talk to someone off script and you go, nope, I have no words.
Have there been any times when it has completely disintegrated or fallen down, or has it always managed to kind of keep
for sure,
keep pushing through?
For sure.
There's many things that have happened. I don't think as much in Fawlty Towers. Well, but then we haven't been in the company as long as some. So I'm sure if you speak to Alison, who obviously created the company, and she was the original Sybil. She would have so many stories about things going wrong in Fawlty and all those, but this is such a well-established show now that rarely do things go so wrong that it's.
How much do you have to adjust things for the site? Because of course you do this in different sites all over the place. Does that have a big impact on what it is that you're doing, or do you just kind of squeeze into the site and get the site to function for you?
Try and keep it as simple as possible, so you don't when we're writing wedding reception, we don't want to start writing in too many specific things that will only work in a certain room.
Yeah.
So you try and do things that we just need a door.
Yeah.
Where we,
Entrance
where
and
we say,
exit.
well, that's the door to like the outside world.
Okay. Yeah.
So where the bride and groom come in, we imagine that's the outside world.
Yeah.
When we try and make it the outside world, the same door that all the guests come into the room from.
Yes. Yeah.
And then there'll usually be a door to the kitchen somewhere, so we might use that.
Okay.
And then we just have specific points in the show where we need to use a particular door.
Yeah.
That's really as complicated as it gets. And normally there'll be every room we can do that.
You can do that. Do you get much? I'm assuming you probably don't time beforehand to sort of get into the space and really sort of.
Yeah, we
have a
do.
plan.
We'll go together
Okay.
early on the day, and we'll check out the room and sort out the room and scope out our exits and entrances. It's intrinsic really to the show.
Yeah, of course.
We need to really feel like when we start the show, we know exactly
But it's your space.
that it's ours,
Yeah.
and because we want the guests to feel safe in our hands.
Yeah,
That we've
absolutely.
planned this wedding and we've set this scene. And you're here because we've invited you. That kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But also we've got one in particular really quick change.
Yes.
And we have to come on not flustered and not have a sign from the other characters
Of
on
course,
us.
yeah. I was very impressed by that actually. I was like, wow, your turnaround.
Yeah, and if we don't know the space
sharp.
really well, if we haven't practiced that entrance and exit, that's when things go terribly wrong. And poor David over here is left
on his own.
in the room.
filling,
Filling space.
just finding anything to talk about,
Forever.
and we're like that. I can't find my veil. Do my dress up.
Just sing another song.
I mean, yesterday I nearly went on without my shoes on.
Yeah.
Just get in without your shoes on.
There's a company term that's used that's finding the funny in the room, which basically means when you first go into a room, because normally we won't have, if it's a new venue we won't have seen it beforehand.
No, of course
So we'll be there at least 2 hours before,
Yeah.
and we'll just look around and find things that can be used.
Yeah.
So in 40 Towers there's a lot of slapstick moments and certain things in the room that we can use
Yeah.
to enhance the comedy.
Yeah, of
Or
course.
if Manuel gets hit against a wall, there's certain walls that are better than others because they make a better noise, and
Yeah.
little things like that.
Yeah.
Or Basil might hit his head on something, and you just scope out the place and
Or when Manuel hides, he can use something
find
that's something.
something, yeah.
If there's a lovely curtain, sometimes he wraps himself all up in a curtain or something. There's if there's a good thing in the room for him to
Yeah.
utilise, then
Yeah.
it's really great to be able to
And
have those things.
do you have to brief all the actual serving staff,
Yes.
everyone who kind of helps you?
Yeah,
That's Sybil's job.
From the hotel?
That happens before every show.
Yeah.
So before every show, it'll be the Sybil, or it'll be one character's job.
Oh, to brief
specifically
the members of staff.
and make sure they know how the running of the show goes and how in Faulty especially how we want it served, because we
course.
serve it very differently to how it would usually serve.
Absolutely.
Because they're obviously very good. We don't want it to. Don't want it to go that well.
Yeah, of course.
But often when you speak to the staff, it's brilliant because they feel like that something's been lifted from them,
Yeah.
and we go, well, you can. So this is how we want you to do it. If someone complains, just pass them on to Basil, or shrug your shoulders. You can just walk away if you like. We tell them these things
They'll
that they
just
can
be
do.
like, wow.
They're like, really? Can we?
Yeah.
Actually, you
Welcome
can't do
to
that.
Faulty Towers.
Yeah, and,
You know.
and we go, if it goes wrong, then don't worry about it. If something gets spilt, it doesn't.
Doesn't matter.
We don't want things to actually be spilt or anything to actually go wrong.
Yeah.
But because sometimes things happen.
Yeah,
Once
of
I
course.
was doing a show and a whole pint got spilt by one of the servers. She tripped, not Manuel. She tripped, and a whole pint went over one of
no.
the people. Thought it was brilliant. They
course
thought
they
it was
did.
part of the
They thought
show.
it was
Obviously, we
brilliant.
don't actually want that to happen because we don't actually want.
No, of course,
we want
yeah.
people to feel
Yeah,
safe.
exactly.
These people shouldn't actually be covered in any
Yeah.
food or drink
Yeah.
items. But everyone else in the room obviously thought this was part of the show.
Well,
Well,
it's
it's like-
come out for
so,
dinner, haven't they? 'Cause I've
yeah.
been to all kinds of stuff where I get absolutely filthy and
Yeah.
things ruined, but they do
Yeah.
warn you beforehand.
Yeah.
Whereas of course people are coming to this
Yeah.
as in going out for dinner. So
Yeah.
dressed
Yeah,
up.
we don't want them to go away with anything.
No,
Yeah.
of course
And so everything we do is done in a safe way.
Yeah,
And
of course.
there's no real danger of getting anything on you, except for sometimes the servers.
Bread.
In
Bread's fine.
Yeah.
in any situation, any dining
Yeah,
situation,
you
someone
might
could
spill
trip and have
something on you,
yes, and so that can
exactly.
always happen, obviously.
Of course.
Yeah, but when it does in these shows, it actually makes it
Yeah,
better.
so it feels alive, you know, because everyone in that room is like,
One of the waitresses.
That was
Oh, yes,
brilliant.
lunchtime, didn't she?
well, that was amazing. I was like, damn it, why aren't we not in Fawlty Towers right now?
Exactly.
Well, it was like in the wedding reception. There's the moment where we're holding Grandma in the air, and
You can't say that because that gives
So
away
that
something, doesn't it?
oh,
Gives
cut
away
that.
gives away a plot point.
Okay, yeah, ignore that. Okay, no, I
Just
won't talk
ignore
about
that. Well, we haven't actually really said anything about it yet, so people are just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, okay.
They're holding up Grandma. How small is Grandma?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Grandma's tiny.
really tiny.
We'll leave it at that. Just think about
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Tiny
okay, we'll leave
grandma.
it at
Now
that,
that we're
yeah.
really intrigued. in
Yes,
that.
exactly.
Yeah.
You want to know
Come
tiny
along.
grandma? Tiny grandma. You'll need to come.
She'll be
to the
appearing at
wedding
Edinburgh
reception.
Festival from the 3rd to the 20-something,
8th, I think.
28.
28th.
Which venue are you in up there?
We're at the Principal, formerly known as the George Hotel,
Okay.
George Street.
So if you want to know about little grandma,
Yeah.
you better get yourself up to Edinburgh. So does the food, I was just intrigued
Yeah,
about
yeah.
this, does the menu change according to the venue that you're in? Or is
It tends to stay the same. It tends to be that what's easiest for the venue to
For
cook
them.
is, and I think what happens is ITI suggests these are really. This is a
okay.
simple chicken breast, and
Yeah.
you know this is a really easy thing for you to cook. And
Yeah.
Yeah, there's recommended
There's
things
yeah, they
that
recommend-
make it
I just didn't know if
easiest
they had like set menus that they do, and then you use whatever it is that they have.
No.
Some menus
No.
might decide to do something they feel is still easy to serve.
yeah,
We
It's
did
quite a
do-
lot. It can be a lot of covers as well. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it
And
can.
it has to get out
really quickly
very
and hot.
swiftly and
Yeah,
hot as well. So
Yeah.
I thought to myself that must be quite
Yeah.
challenging.
I mean,
Yeah.
we did wedding reception in one venue. I won't say who it is, but they were so stubborn and they refused to do a set menu. So we had to suddenly incorporate an a la carte
Oh my goodness.
meal. And so they had to take orders, and the show I think was about 10 hours long
I
or
was going
something.
to say
because
that
it was like
must
this
have taken
ridiculous.
so long.
Yeah, but they just wouldn't budge on it. And
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But that's only happened happened once.
That's not too bad then. That's fine.
Every other venue have been lovely, and they,
Yeah.
you know, because we incorporate their staff as well, so they help serve.
Yeah, exactly. And it's great for them as well because they have that kind of, all the guests are coming in, everyone's getting drinks
Yes,
as well,
exactly.
and then they get to kind of, if they didn't know about the space, then
Yeah.
they might know about it. So I think it's such a good business model actually. I think it's a really interesting way of it being sustainable. So do you think that it's just kind of happened that way, or do you think that that's something that's been carefully crafted, that you have this kind of way of working with the dining experiences?
It's very consistent
Yeah,
over every show,
yeah.
and we do have certain documentation that the venues get every time. Is
Yeah.
this is what really works for the show. They have a certain amount of freedom,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Has it gone down differently in different kind of cultural contexts? Because I know, the wedding reception, especially, and again, I don't want to give too much away, but it's a very sort of British thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had.
And
Yeah,
so has that gone down? Have you taken that in many places?
yeah, we have. Yeah, we've had all sorts of experiences. We took it to Ireland, and yeah, they really enjoyed the show. And then we got feedback afterwards, and their feedback was, "We'd love for you to make references to Irish weddings.
Ah, okay.
Can you adapt the names?
Oh,
So rather than
wow.
Sharon and Michelle, can we have O'Connor and Sinead? You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
and we were
yeah.
like, oh yeah,
of course.
And they really wanted a flavour of their
their culture and
culture in the show. That's what they wanted,
lovely.
and we took that on board. And if we were to go to Ireland again,
You would do
we'd,
that.
yeah, and it'd be great. It'd be great fun because people would go, oh yeah, and
So it would be so interesting, for example, in Korea, because of course they have completely different cultural customs, how it would potentially
Exactly, yeah.
kind of go down there, because it is such a kind of
I think there's something really interesting in
isn't
offering it, going have a British wedding in your country. I think that's
Exactly,
really exciting.
exactly,
So there's
yeah.
also something to be said for not changing it
No,
as well.
absolutely,
You know,
absolutely.
if there's a way to, you can explore changing it, but also go have a slice of England,
of how how
Britain in your country. And
I
go,
think that's really interesting, and it will be interesting to see how people would respond, because
Yeah.
of course actually what it's about doing is sharing culture, but through immersion as a technique in some respects, which I think is potentially really exciting.
Yeah,
and really
yeah.
interesting.
The main difficulty is really accents,
Yeah.
because with wedding reception, the concept is that the bride and her family are from the north of England,
Yeah.
and the groom his family are from the south,
Absolutely, yeah.
and
Which, of course, is a huge cultural divide just in the north and
Yeah.
south of the UK.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
I mean, Becky and I created the show originally. We love stuff like Victoria Wood and stuff that's British comedy that's ingrained with the class system,
Yes.
which we just kind of understand as English people, British
Yeah,
people.
yeah, of course.
It's just ingrained in us, and we just get it. And then we've gone abroad with it, and we've realised, oh, not every country has that.
No, absolutely.
Or they're not aware of it.
Yeah,
They're not
like
aware of the
Australia, we've
intricacy.
done the show in Australia, and we're going back again in October. And yeah, the class system, it's not the same understanding of it.
Okay, so they get a very
it's
different
quite-
perception. of
Well,
that
but
then, I
interestingly, the
guess.
class system in Australia is quite interesting to us, and the class system in England in Ireland is interesting to us, and it's about making it accessible, so that we're keeping
course.
true to why these guys have made the show in the way that they did,
Of course.
but making it accessible and interesting when we do go to places like Australia.
Yeah.
They don't have a problem with the southern accents, but with the northern accents it becomes a problem.
We had to tone them down,
Yeah.
really,
Wow,
because
okay.
they also don't recognise the difference in them. And so
That's
actually, if
really
you take it
strange.
away, which we did in Australia, we pretty much took away the northern accent, but still had the north-south divide.
Yeah.
And it still worked.
And it still works. That's so interesting. I had one of my good friends is from Scarborough, so she has a really thick kind of North Riding Yorkshire accent.
Wow.
And her ex-husband used to be was American, and so they would not recognise the difference. They thought her and I sounded exactly the same.
Wow,
It's funny, isn't
Which
it?
is so crazy. It's that kind of not recognising.
Yeah, the ear doesn't pick it
distinction.
up.
And actually, often Americans ask me if I'm Australian.
Yes.
Which is really strange.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm like really RP.
I think it's fascinating, especially with Fawlty Towers and the wedding reception, in that taking it to different countries, and especially Australia when they don't have the class system. But they really, really love English comedy, and a lot of places really do love
They do,
English
it's
comedy.
exported,
And
isn't it, a great
a
deal?
lot of our comedy comes from our class system.
It does.
Fawlty Towers is a classic example of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's true.
And they love it. So they might not understand it, but there's something that they love about that comedy because there is something in it that they get. They might not understand that it's based on
Well,
class,
where it comes out of,
how
yeah,
or
of
how
course.
that's come about, but they do really love
Yeah.
the comedy that comes from it. So the fact that the wedding reception is based on this north-south divide, they might not get that. The class and how we would understand that, but the comedy still comes across
Well, because
from that.
people still recognise subjugation,
Yes.
and that kind of, which is effectively what appropriates those roles and those stereotypes. So I guess that is what is still funny, is the distinction in those kind of sort of what it boils down to master-slave relationships. Everybody understands those.
Yeah,
It's just
exactly.
how they're produced.
Exactly what we were talking about.
Yeah.
If you change the accents too much, then they become something else, and then the dynamic changes, and then the whole thing falls apart because it's not.
But people will
but-
recognise that because they'll go, well, the comedy isn't the same. They won't know why, but the comedy isn't the same because you've taken away, like I say, that.
So it's a really hard thing to work out, and we're still working it out.
Yeah, of course.
Because most of our shows, certainly for wedding reception, have been in the UK, so
Yeah.
there's not that problem. People just
It's going to
get
be
it.
interesting then once you start taking that, if there are plans to take that kind of elsewhere, which I'm assuming there probably are.
Well, we did it in Singapore as well.
Oh, wow,
but,
okay.
We do make references within wedding reception and with Fawlty as well to where we are.
Yeah.
But it's only the surrounding area, really. It's only by name. So in the wedding reception, the wedding is actually in Brighton. The wedding happened at the town hall,
Which is
where
literally over
the bride
there.
and groom were. They'd just been off on the pier. So stuff like that is
all
actually
those little bits embedding it locally.
Yes, locally, and there's the same within Fawlty because there's a name reference that we always take to each. We get one from wherever we are.
Okay.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Don't worry. Okay, I'm going to start to bring things to a close, I think. So I know you guys are busy and I'm busy as well. So the last thing I was going to ask you about really is just what is next then? What are you planning on doing after this? Are there any new shows in the pipeline, or is it a case of taking wedding reception? Obviously, Fawlty Towers has been running for a really long time, and I'm assuming it's going to continue to be available all over the place.
Totally. It's going to keep going. The plan for the wedding reception is to keep getting gigs, keep getting runs, we're going to, these guys are going with it to Edinburgh Fringe Festival for the whole month, and then we're off to Australia on a tour around Australia, the second time this show, and the plan is to keep doing more and more and more of that, and to get longer runs and to go to venues and to world domination, basically.
That's ideal. That's ideal.
Yeah, and also, in the grand scheme of things, Faulty has been going for 20 years. The wedding reception is actually in its infancy in comparison in that way. We're even this weekend we were trying out new stuff at the beginning. We're still trying new material. There's still moments when we're like, this okay, but it could be that amazing. And it could be.
I suppose that process never really ends because your character is the audience, and the audience change because of culture, because of time.
Absolutely.
Especially when it's run for 20 years. Yeah. You're dealing with a different group of people.
And also with the Fawlty Towers, you've always got the characters to go back to, whereas with this show, it's constantly evolving because there's not a stock character to go back to every time.
It's self-referential, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah,
so it evolves.
People evolve, actors are changing, the cast are constantly changing. It's developing constantly. Yeah. And the characters, how they first started out, you first wrote what the characters were like, how they've ended up, where they are now. They're hugely
really
changed, but there's still fundamental things that have stayed the same. There's still qualities that have at the core of it the same, at the heart of it. But characteristics are developing, which is exciting.
We have got enough actors to form 3 casts for wedding reception.
Brilliant!
And everyone does it slightly differently.
Of course.
And we don't work together in set teams. We all mix and match.
Yeah, of course. It's because you inhabit those core things,
so
don't you?
Every audience you have is going to make it different, and then every cast you have is going to be different because the characters are slightly. The essence is the same, like Katie said, but little things that certain actors do that others don't. And
this is not unusual in immersion as well. Even if you look at L'Enfance and Alice, they have, I think, up to 60 people on a rotating basis who all know how to do. I think they learn
a few of the actors
4 or 5 characters, and they rotate. So again, every night, every kind of like configuration of those different things will produce a different experience along with the audience as well. So I think it's quite a common, and Punch Drunk are the same. They have a huge cast of sort of 8 people that rotates on the show. So again, but what I think is important and what is integral and replaces in some respects that kind of the usual dramaturgy of a closed off kind of theatre piece is that the heart and the structure. I think that those 2 things, as long as they're always there and they're solid and they're based on that kind of integrity, I think that's what drives a successful piece of immersive performance.
Absolutely.
I think that's what's lovely about the wedding reception is that, yes, it's this, you don't know them initially, but you are invited into this family, and hopefully everyone feels like they are part of it by the end. And actually, it doesn't matter everything that goes wrong, because at the end of it there's this couple who do love each other, and it gives some people that lovely, it has got a lovely heart to it, because at the end it is this, it's a wedding, and these people, they are still going to be together in it, and it's really,
and everybody knows it. Everyone's been to a wedding, everyone's been involved in that process, and so I think that's why it touches on something kind of really fundamental in the same way that I think Fawlty Towers does, because it's that kind of work environment. Everybody's worked in a work environment where those hierarchies have existed in one form or another. So I think it touches on 2 really integral parts of kind of, especially Western audiences' experiences. I think
that's what John Cleese said when he was writing Fawlty Towers. He knew that most people knew what it was like to stay in a hotel. So there's that instant recognition of the setting. You don't have to wonder what this place is, or
we all know.
You don't have to work it out. It's like it's obvious.
That bit of work's been done for you. You have to work really hard to try and place yourself, which is often a struggle in immersive theatre. There's quite a lot asked of you.
No, there's an awful lot of. I actually think that immersive doesn't really employ actors as it employs creatives. I think because you have to be a creative to be involved in it, because you have to make so many creative making decisions when you're a performer. It's like we were saying earlier, isn't when you take on a jobbing acting and a jobbing acting part, you are literally everything is already pretty much decided for you. Even in terms of, I know when you do your training, if any students are listening, you're told that you have all these choices to make as a performer, and to some extent you do, but when it comes to a piece where you're directed,
you're told where to stand.
You're told exactly even where to stand and what direction they would really prefer you to build your character into. And so I think there's a lot more rigidness, and I think you're right.
Yeah.
There's a lot asked from the performers in this kind of work, and a lot asked from the audience. But the stuff that's asked from the audience is always done, if it's done well, in a clever way where they don't realise the work that they're doing because it's enjoyable.
And also, they want to be involved because they're invested, because they feel something for the story and the characters, and they go, I want these people to do this. And they feel. They have the want to be there, to be in the moment with these people.
One of the things that really struck me about your work is that it's really accessible in the ways that a lot of others aren't, because loads of people will say to me, oh, I don't like the idea of immersion because I'm timid and I don't like this. So I think in some respects there's a sort of eliteness with some immersive work, that you kind of have to be a good, knowledgeable, immersive audience member, so you have to kind of know what you're doing. I think what your work does is really gives a really accessible route into that isn't terrifying. You don't have to be a kind of expert audience to attend it. You just go and have dinner in this environment and with these characters. So I think that is a much more gentle way of accessing it.
We have a very soft side, and they've always made it like this. When they first made Fawlty Towers, they said it should always be the opening of it should always be a soft start.
Soft start.
And someone phrased it brilliantly. I can't remember which one of the actors it was that when we were in a rehearsal one day, they said you can't jump out on a cat.
Yes.
And that's so true, because the opening should be so soft that we'll come here, we'll take you by the hand, this is going to be okay. And you build that trust. And so from the bar area, when we take people through, we've got them by the hand, and people feel then safe to be able to then just sit back and enjoy this. And we won't ask you to do anything ridiculous. We're not going to ask anything.
And you spot the eager ones anyway, don't you? I know this is for myself. You know who's going to play with you.
Exactly, yeah.
My mum came to see Fawlty Towers for the first time last Saturday night. And even she was saying, so this interactive thing's like, do you like pick on people and make them do stuff?
Yeah, it frightens people. They get anxious about it.
I mean, no, that's fine. You don't have to do anything. It's like you might be talked at or insulted by Basil, but it's not. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah, my friends came to a wedding reception, and at the beginning they were spoken to by a character, and they're super shy and bashful, and they were like, oh, don't even talk to me. And they thought, oh, they're going to make me stand on a chair and wear a funny hat and call me names. That's what they thought. And then it took them 5 minutes of realising this character just wanted to chat with them, wasn't expecting anything from them. And they went, oh, and they started to really enjoy themselves. And then as soon as they walked into the room, they forgot that they were in an immersive show. They were a guest at a wedding.
It's so easy. That's the thing. You make it very comfortable and very easy. And I've been to every possible kind of immersion, I think, to this point.
Wow.
And many of it is, you do have to kind of know what you're doing. And some of it is terrifying. Some of it is really hard as well to live through. And I wouldn't recommend that for kind of. I'm kind of the opposite of that. I'm like, I am so up for it, because of course this is what I love. But with the kind of audiences I think that you're engaging as well, I think that invitation needs to be so carefully crafted and couched with the way that you draw them in, so they don't even realise in some respects. And so I thought that was one of the things I thought was really strong about what you were doing, is that really accessible, comfortable, easy.
Part of our job as actors is to really just to recognise the people that might not want to
because you
can
tell straight away. With their body
you can tell, and it's like, we'll just leave them alone. Just let them enjoy it. Because I'm one of those people. I can't stand the thought of someone coming to me, talking to me in a show, and I don't like being myself. That's why I'm an actor.
Absolutely.
And there's other people you just can't shut up, and but they're great too, because you need those. You need both types,
Well, Manuel was straight on me immediately. I've seen it in my face. I wanted to play. He's straight over like handfuls of nuts.
It's the Brighton Fringe lanyard you're wearing around your neck. Isn't it?
That probably is, because we're supposed to wear it when we come as arts professionals. But when I sat there, and as soon as he popped it, I was like, oh no, I should have took this off and put it in my bag.
It's like holding a sign with an arrow on above your head.
Me, I'm here. I want to play. It's all good. But I'm quite comfortable with that. But no, I thought that was really interesting. So you're taking wedding reception to Edinburgh and then
Yeah,
to
Australia.
Australia.
Yeah.
So if you happen to be listening in Australia, where are you kind of kicking off things? Do you not know yet? If you don't know yet.
We don't know
Everywhere.
yet. I know we're in
that's
Surfers
exciting.
Paradise. I know that's one of the places we're
That's
at.
the one.
Failing that, where is the best way for people
On the
is it to get
website.
on your mailing list, Twitter,
Yeah,
on the website?
mainly it's on the website. It's got all of the tour dates on the website.
Brilliant.
interactivetheatre.com.au, and
okay.
you can find links to both shows,
Perfect.
40 Towers Dining Experience and the Wedding Reception.
Brilliant.
That's got a list of all the shows that we
and
do.
they can find all your bios and everything there as well.
That's right.
Fantastic.
All the actors'
Bios.
bios
All
are
about
there.
you.
Yeah.
There's a
which is
UK section
exciting.
for the UK shows, there's a worldwide section for Australia and everywhere else.
Perfect.
It's all there.
And everything is on there.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So we can keep in touch with you and they can follow you
Yeah,
and figure out what it is that
absolutely.
you're doing.
Yeah.
So are you working on any new shows or are you focusing on getting Wedding Reception out there?
Well,
ITI, you mean?
Yeah.
ITI. There's a
Don't know.
little tiny little hint that maybe possibly one day, but that's all we know.
Okay.
we can't talk about that.
Okay, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But what people will need to do then is just make sure that they're on your mailing list.
They need to
Otherwise-
they need to and keep following us on Facebook and Twitter, and
Twitter.
keep going, the mailings. Just keep interacting with us online as well, because we're constantly posting pictures of shows
Exactly.
and talking about what we're up to. And I have to say, one of the things I love the most about working with this company is the cast. The cast are so strong. There are such incredibly talented performers. I don't mean to sound gushing, but I feel very privileged and lucky to be performing with amazing people. And you just constantly do a show with different people, and you're like, everyone brings something really different. So just as a side thing, even if you're not interested in seeing the show, just watch the actors, what they're up to, because everyone's
of course.
people in the play that goes wrong. We've got all sorts, We've got all sorts going on.
Well,
it's really
keep in
exciting.
touch, get online and have a look, and get yourself along. I would highly recommend. I had an absolute blast at both of the performances, so it was
you
really
did.
fabulous. It was actually nice to do something fairly light-hearted for once, because
Yeah.
some of the things I go to are really
Heavy.
intense and hard to live through, and so it was nice to go to something.
It was joyful.
It's really fun for us to perform as well.
yeah.
So that was
great.
quite nice. I was like, wow, I'm out smiling and I'm not like drenched or filthy or covered in
Yeah,
blood.
Something really wrong would have had to happen at 40 Towers or the wedding for that to happen.
Just covered in breadcrumbs, which I'm absolutely fine with.
Yeah.
Just have to make sure I get them off in Brighton because the seagulls.
Yeah.
Well, you could end up having a blow.
Oh,
The seagulls got you there.
Well, lovely. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank
and I wish
you.
you all the best for Edinburgh. I hope it goes
Thank
really, really well.
you.
I'm hoping to try and get up, but
Yeah,
it all
great.
depends. It's just
Fantastic.
difficult to get up there, isn't it? I'm actually moving jobs over the summer, so I'm probably going to be moving during August. Packing boxes. So have a fabulous
Thank you
time.
very,
and
very
have
much.
a really good time in Australia.
Thank you.
thank
Thank you
very
so much. Thank you.
I really hope you enjoyed that episode. Now, if you have been at the Brighton Fringe Festival or caught any of the shows that were talked about in this episode or that are coming up in further episodes, I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your experiences, how you felt about those particular pieces of work. Now, if you're in Brighton over the weekend, as I'm going to literally be there from dawn till dusk. Do say hello if you see me out and about. Short hair, you probably know what I look like, so just come over and say hey. It would be really, really lovely to see some of you and to have a little chat. Now, as I said at the very beginning of the episode, I have a mountain of really exciting content to sift through. So what I'm not going to do this month is promise what's coming up next, because at this particular stage, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to put out to you next. So you are just going to have to make sure that you're subscribed so that you don't miss out on anything. And of course, you can do that on SoundCloud, on iTunes, but you can also keep up to date with what we're up to on Twitter, on Facebook, or you can email me directly, which is talkingaboutimmersivetheatre@gmail.com. So you can find us in all of the usual places. As ever, I really, really love to hear from you. So do get in touch. Now, all I can promise is that there is lots more immersive type chats heading your way. So tatty bye for now.